The following review contains spoilers. Alright, let's just get this shit going. Disclaimer. The following is a non-profit review in the form of a parody summary that uses copyrighted footage to illustrate several points made by the reviewer and also to provide context. And also constitutes fair use. Other disclaimer. This anime review is not done by an expert by any means, and he is therefore conducting this review from his native cultural basis. Enough of this ass covering, on with the show. So to purge the awful taste of product number 03 out of my foul soap-stained mouth, I bring you a review of something I actually like. Cyberteam in Akihabara is a 26-episode anime from back in 1998. Where to start with this show? Well, it's dark and weird. It's a fusion of the magical girl show with pseudoscience mecha and a theme of cybernetic pets that are supposed to represent Tamagotchi, however they just remind me of Furbies. Also, this show is moe as hell, with a clearly anti-utopian message and extensive mythological and ornithological references, and an undercurrent of homoeroticism. We are in for quite a ride. For those of you who don't know, ornithology is the study of birds. At least this show is canon. I've held that joke in for way too long. So our series starts up with our main character, Hibari Hanakogami, angsting about how she doesn't have a Pedophilia. Pedophilia is sold by the Japanese mafia with maracas, and is therefore, dun dun dun, unpopular. And she has these dreams about an older man who keeps calling her his anima mundi. This is her prince, as it were. So this other really old guy, the pervert of the series, Shimabukuro, the names in this series are really hard to pronounce the first few times you try. Comes up to Hibari and says to her,
"Whoops, I almost forgot to say, he's waiting for you on the hill over there, your dear prince."
Her, "One question, how do you know that?" I said, "How do you know that? Answer me, you dirty old man who molests his own granddaughter." Moving on, since we aren't getting any answers, she follows his advice and gets a Pedophilia from the dashing prince of her dreams. Then later, these dark-skinned Japanese people show up and mislead her by disguising themselves as school children, who spontaneously thereafter decompose. That happens a lot in this series, including episodes 2 and 5, just from the top of my head. So, then she takes the bad directions and they lead her into a pair of giant breasts of evil! Curse you breasts! You lied to me! So the crazy lady with the evil giant breasts summons more dark-skinned Japanese people, and then the main character's magical Furby who can eat french fries. Why? Okay, let's stop for a moment. If the thing is a robot, how can he eat french fries? And I know they're robots because they keep talking about upgrades, and you don't upgrade a flesh and blood pet. Well, as long as they're not still alive. Back to the plot. So, the dark-skinned Japanese people try to hit on her, but the main character's Furby transforms into a gynoid with giant angel wings. Gynoids are female androids. So then the androgynous and possibly homosexual lieutenant to the bad guys is now watching in a really creepy way. Now, this new gynoid robot just wrecks the booby lady's shit, and by the way, booby lady's name is Jun, and she's also known as Blood Falcon. She totally makes like a banana and splits. So back at school, Hibari, the main character, explains to her best friend, Suzume, that her Furby can transform, and Suzume, the rich snooty friend who secretly wants to rule the world, is all like,
"Hibari, I'm very sorry to say this, that I am. Huh? But listen, I cannot believe such confabulations."
Don't worry, that verbal tick only gets more annoying from here on out. And we're only on episode 2 at the moment, so later on in the episode, Hibari gets tricked into going into the same alleyway as before. And then Suzume's magical Furby transforms into a gynoid as well. Are you seeing a pattern here? Because it repeats again with Sagumi, the sporty girl who secretly wants to be a pop star, even down to the alleyway. So then she's a part of the group too now, and so in order to decide who the leader should be, they settle the debate with Extreme Rock Paper Scissors Japanese edition. Good. So now that that's settled.
Now that I'm the official trio leader, there's something I gotta do.
That was a bogus win, that it was, and I refuse to listen to you anymore!
Let's decide on a group name.
Really? Okay, let's just skip this part and get to the first time where Suzume lezzes out on Miyaki, aka Death Crow. Now, throughout the battles in the background is a giant flying space castle, Space Burgers! And every time that there's a new girl who comes into the group, they get called over to the principal's office so we can go up to them and ask them how they like Akihabara. Like,
"Come in."
It's me.
"So, you are Miss Hibari Hanakogami."
Yes, sir.
I see. How are you? Enjoying your time at this school?
What, sir?
I must say that I very much like this city called Akihabara. Do you like it too?
Yes, sir. I do.
Thank you, dear. You may go now. Work hard on your studies. So you are Miss Suzume Sakura Josui, are you?
Yes, sir. That is correct, sir.
I see. How are you? Enjoying your time at this school?
Huh?
I must say that I very much like this city called Akihabara. Do you like it as well?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. You may go now.
Huh?
I'm expecting you. Miss Kamome Singakuji, I presume?
So I am. No offense, but wasn't that kind of a pointless question?
You know, I very much like this city of Akihabara. Do you like it too?
To tell you the truth, I'm really not that impressed. If you want an electric town, Nipponbashi in Osaka's the place to be. Yes, sirree, yep.
Why? It's just creepy. So, in episode 5, the dark-skinned Japanese people have golden cod pieces shaped like cocks with golden balls, because this series needs to balance in order to counteract the nipple beams, otherwise you'd call it misogynistic. Also, all the Pop Stars fans turn into monsters, and I totally saw that coming. The series also includes scenes of curry crucifixion, curry hanging, curry beheading, which is rather strange. However, this series also includes a scene of elder abuse, which I find both topical and informative. So, speaking of elder abuse, the next member of our team shows up. She's my personal favorite character, Kamame, the blonde gold digger who wants to pay off her family's debts, and her Pedophilia Billiken is doing an impression of a Chinese man impersonating an Indian man wearing a circus hat at a 7-Eleven.
Thanks for your business.
She also has the best grasp of the situation, right down to the other team members' bra sizes. Talk about keeping abreast of a situation, eh?
It's because her grandfather is the pervert.
So, in the next episode, my favorite episode, Hibari's prince finally decides to contact her. No, wait, it's just a lesbian. So they spend the rest of the episode trying to get rid of her by trying to say that Hibari already has a boyfriend. It turns out it's just Tsugumi, but honestly, she looks better as a man. Tsugumi is the manliest character of the show, now that I think of it. But wait, you'd say, what about Washu, the evil principal, and his evil porno mustache? Well, it turns out it was a fake all along, and he just turns out to be a pretty looking Japanese man, despite being from Europe and being over 500 years old. I don't know why, but he reminds me of Mega Man Juno. I also like to pretend that he's a child molester because it makes certain things that he says and does really funny.
Naturally, you take after him. The blood that runs through your veins is his gift to you. Let me feel its warmth.
And it's moments like this that just make your imagination run wild. It makes me wonder how close they really are. So back to episode 8. Hibari's cell phone is goddamn hilarious. I mean, just look at it. Who makes a cell phone look like a $2 knockoff of a $3 laser gun? It looks like it was designed by a politically incorrect childlike retard. Oh wait, it was designed by Suzume. That explains it. So in order to get Uzura the lesbian to leave them alone, Suzume activates her secret fan service weapon, magnetic clothing that forced Tsugumi and Hibari to nearly kiss.
This is bad.
Very bad.
What? Damn it, Hibari, don't close your eyes like that!
Hibari finds out about Tsugumi being a woman and she's heartbroken. But at the end of the episode, now she's chasing after Kamame, so everything worked out in the end, I guess. Okay, enough goofing around. Let's get back to doing this. Now let's talk about the villains of the show. I've already mentioned Blood Falcon, and also Death Crow. Blood Falcon is an office lady who's insane, and Death Crow is a geeky science major who cleans up very, very nicely, surprisingly. And we also have Dark Pigeon, the ditz, who's also a pop star. Ironically, it's the same pop star who Tsugumi. They all report to Takashi, who they call Master Shooting Star, who's a clone. Who do you think you are, Ben Riley? Takashi then reports to Washu, the school principal, who is in all actuality Christian Rosenkreuz, who's based on an actual European legend. He's the leader of the Rosenkreuz, also known as the Order of the Rose Cross, a secret organization that gathers and develops technologies in order to bring about a utopian world government and an end to national violence, yada yada yada. War is bad. He's immortal due to the elixir of life, which grants him immortality, as it does for his right-hand man, Sigon Raspai, aka the Count de Saint Germain. That name is awesome just because it has Count and Saint in his name. So since he has such an important sounding name, he must be important, right? Right? Kinda, sorta. So, Rosenkreutz's evil plan is to awaken the Anima Mundi so they can release the Shrine Maidens, aka the Divas, so that Crane Barsteig will come down and out from his closet of his space castle so they can rule together with their gay business plan. Mwahahahahaha. To accomplish their aim, they capture Hibari with the red shoes of Karen, but she escapes and discovers that Takashi looks like the dashing prince of her dreams, and she's all like,
No, it can't be true. I know it can't.
Because she thinks that Takashi's her real prince, when in actuality it's Barnsteig. However, then she slips into depression. Then after that, the real 5th team member Tsubume shows up, and she's an emotionally scarred stoic girl who says,
Let's play, Hibari.
By the way, Tsubume's name translates to swallow. Think about it. She introduces herself by beating the living piss out of the rest of the divas, and then we have a beach episode where they bury her in the sand, but before that, we discover that Kamame is into muscle men. No, wait, she's just a peeping Tom spying on her friend. So then the beach episode is a really nice change of pace because it lets us see the Potopi have an adventure to themselves where they fight crabs and get lost in a dark cave. I think I just found the series Vagina Dentata moment. So, long story short, one day after school, Suzume can't contain her secret any longer and finally goes full lesbian on Hibari, and then suddenly, Master Shooting Star shows up and kidnaps her into a pocket dimension and tells her, I'm not really your prince. So with this newfound information, she then beats up Tsubume's Potopi, Petite Ange, and then Takashi goes home to tell his dad, and he's like, you love me, right, Dad? You love me. And then his dad's all like,
Let me put it to you plainly. You are, have been, and will always be dispensable!
and it was like, so then he tries to rebel against his father because
I detest because he robbed me of love!
But it turns out that's what he wanted Takashi to do in the first place.
And I made sure of that fact when I created him. That he would love no one other than me. That he could love no one other than me. And that he would gladly throw his life away for me, if need be.
Then a couple days later, Hibari invites Tsubume over for the pancakes of friendship, and Tsubume just runs away.
Why is it always about you? Hibari has a father who loves her. Hibari has a mother who loves her. Everyone's doting all over her. Hibari has a place to go home to. And why do I have nowhere to go? No one doting over me. It's just not fair. All I want is...
So, long story short, Hibari's parents adopt Tsubume because Sagon just threw her out, apparently. So we need to talk about Crane, finally. So, Crane Bartensteig, aka Metatron, aka the White Prince, aka the Prince of Hibari's Dreams, met Rosenkreutz after he was fired by Thomas Edison back in whatever the fuck year. Then they sure laugh about how much of an asshole he is. So then, they work together for a couple of years before Crane finds out about the immortality and the Rosenkreutz. Then World War I happens and Crane falls into despair and madness about how technology hasn't changed mankind for the better, and he runs away to be able to prevent Rosenkreutz from taking over the world. All of this is explained to the main cast by the creepy old grandpa in an episode devoted to just that, despite the fact that the audience already knows about that, and Potopi humping. But before that happens, the rest of the main cast are still picking on Tsubume because she used to work for the bad guys. Then they all have a group cry and it fixes everything between them just before the bad guys show up and steal 3 of the Potopis, so then Hibari tries to stop them and get the Potopis back, but she fails and falls out of the sky. Now the time has come. So 3 of the Potopi got stolen in the last episode by the Space Castle, so Kamame, Tsugumi, and Suzume are relegated to supporting Grandpa while they counteract the descent of the Space Castle. Now that Rosenkreutz isn't wearing that porno mustache anymore and he looks like Mega Man Juno, now he's showing his true colors to that one guy who used to give him money and shit. He kills him in one of the most awesome ways possible, with a playing card. Dude, seriously, how awesome is that? Then Stupid Squad shows up and makes really insulting jokes.
Hey, itty bitty titty committee!
You know, it's one thing to be evil, but that's just me.
So then Tsubume hangs back with everyone to take out the evil army while Hibari tries to save the prince. But it turns out that he was evil all along.
You were never Eve to my Adam. You were the serpent all along.
and this is revealed in one of the best ways possible because he kills Rosenkreutz in the most brutal way possible by making the elixir of life not work, and he dies of old age in the space of like 3 minutes. Seriously, what a sadist. So then after that, he goes up to Hibari and he's like, then he tells Hibari that he will come back again for them in 135 days. Why come back? Why come back? It's so we could have that one good joke in the next episode.
Measure of mass per unit of volume, which I'm telling you now, even though we're not going to get to it until next year. I do, however, want you to write it down now so that the next year you'll remember it, even though we will now run a lab experiment to prove this very formula, which, as I said, won't be covered until next year. In fact, I'd say this whole government-issued lesson plan was ironic, but we're not supposed to cover irony until 2 years from now!
So in the meantime, the girls change their mind about going with him into space, and he's all whiny brat to them for like 10 minutes, and Tsugumi's all like, yeah, you tell him, Hibari.
Yeah, Hibari, you tell him! You tell him what's up!
And then the divas steal the space castle when nobody's looking, and Crane sneaks a kiss past the censors, causing them to write him out of the story. Then Suzume dresses like a lesbian, and Takashi is still alive considering heterosexual pedophilia. An obvious improvement.
Tranquility Base here. The Eagle has landed. That's one small step for man, one giant leap for...
John Madden. In conclusion, in spite of all the weird shit in this series, or probably because of it, I found myself enjoying it, despite the fact that it's subjectively mediocre at best. The series is kinda drawn out, but at least they tried to develop likable characters, and in many regards they succeeded to a degree, as well as making me empathize with a character that I hate in one of the best ways possible.
You sound like such a spoiled little brat. You'll learn soon enough not to believe any of our father's so-called promises. He hasn't got time for you, especially not when he's in one of his head-over-heels moods like he is now.
Head over heels?
You're too young to understand, but I'll explain it anyway. Remember that lady who stayed with us who said she was Daddy's secretary? Well, she was so much more than that.
Enough, Miss Suzumi.
What's the matter, Sebastian? I'm only telling her the truth, which is that Father doesn't care about her silly recital at all. Not one bit. There's a lesson here, and I suggest you learn it. Just spend Daddy's money like Suzuna, Suzuri, and I do, because you'll get nothing out of being a goody two-shoes.
Please, Miss Suzume.
Now, do you mind handing me the score?
Oh, certainly, ma'am.
I am going to my recital. My father and my sisters can do whatever they want. I refuse to let their behavior ruin my life.
That alone is a win, but they also know how to sell psychological damage with Suzume, only really hinting at how it was all inflicted. The human mind can fill in the blanks with more genuinely horrible stuff than most people would admit, and that's how you make horror really work. My favorite drinking game to play with this series is Count the Underage Panty Shot. The series starts out really lighthearted and just fun and cutesy, and then it just keeps getting darker and darker throughout the end.
Has fallen since acquiring the gift of science.
Indeed.
After Copernicus, mankind lost its position at the center of the universe.
And after Darwin, man could no longer believe himself descended from God.
And how has the psychoanalysis of the mind helped man? When it blinds him to the mysteries of his heart.
But where will it end? What more can man want at such a cost?
Man wants nothing but to want. It is the only reason for his existence. And perhaps it will one day lead him to a higher existence.
500 years on this planet, I've waited for my dream to come true, and now you tell me that it was never my own? I've seen friends come and go. I sacrificed Takashi and Sagon to see you again. All that waiting just to be cast aside as you leave the planet?
Such is life. 500 years, and yet the people of this planet refuse to change. There's just no future here.
But then it brings it back over to the lightheartedness, which can kind of cause mood whiplash. But it ends up bringing the series full circle again, so it reminds us of what's really important here. The love of a girl and her friends for robots that can eat french fries. The end. Wait, there's a movie of this too? Crap. Japanophile.